Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. Today my group and I will be presenting about a short story that we have been assigned to, which is The Nightingale and the Rose. But before that, the title may seem like it is a fairy tale, a love story, a simple love story involving a boy, a girl, and a rose. But no, it's actually more than that. It has hidden meaning, and in this presentation, we'll go through one by one. But before we start the presentation, I would like to introduce myself. My name is IXORA, and my other friends will also be presenting their parts. In this presentation, we have Nur Anissa Atira, and we have Siti Aisyah Maisara, we have Raja AIRISSA Yasmin, and we have Muhammad Azid. Alright, let's begin the presentation. For the short story information, this story is written by Oscar Wilde in 1888. This story is about a nightingale who believes in true love. So when she sees a young man, the student, which is the main character, he was heartbroken because he cannot find a red rose for a girl that he loves. So the nightingale first moves and decided to help him. She sacrifices her life by pressing her heart against the thorn, and her blood colors and stains the white roses. And when the student saw the red roses, he brings the rose to the girl, but then she rejects it. Because why? Because she prefers jewels from a wealthy man instead, because she believes that jewels worth more than roses. So in the end, the student is heartbroken and throws the rose away, declaring that love is foolish. But he didn't know that the nightingale sacrifices her life to create that red roses. Now let's move on to the next slide, which is plot and phrase-text triangle. First, let's look at the plot using phrase-text triangle. First is the exposition, where the main character, which is the student, is introduced, crying because the girl he admires will only dance with him if he brings her a red rose. But sadly, he doesn't have any red roses in his garden. So he cried and cried, and the nightingale hears his sorrow and believes it comes from the purest, noblest emotion, which is love. Next is the rising action. The nightingale searches for a way to help, and the red rose tree tells her that a red rose can only be made if she presses her heart against the thorn and sings all night, giving her blood to color the rose. And she agrees, even though it means that her life will end. And that is all from me. I will let my good friend here to continue the phrase-text triangle.
The climax of The Nightingale and the Rose happens when the nightingale sacrifices herself for love. This is the most emotional and intense part of the story. The nightingale presses her breast against a thorn of the rose tree and sings all night long while it kills her slowly. As the text says, all night long she sang with her breast against the thorn, and the thorn went deeper and deeper into her breast, and her lifeblood ebbed away from her. Her song grows stronger as the thorn pierces deeper into her breast, and eventually she died. Through this painful act, she stains the rose red with her own blood, creating the very flower that the student so desperately needed. This moment is important because it shows the nightingale's selflessness and how much she believes in the power of love. Oscar Wilde, which is the author, uses vivid imagery, which is the moon, described as listening, and the night filled with her music. It's the turning point of the story, where true love symbolized by the red rose, which is literally born out of pain and death. The following action happens right after the Nightingale sacrifice. In the morning, the student finds the red rose outside his window. The story says, "Why, what a wonderful piece of luck! Here is a red rose. It is so beautiful that I am sure it has a long Latin name." The student is thrilled and immediately plucks it, thinking that it's his lucky day. He believes the red rose will finally win him the affection of the professor's daughter. Lastly, the resolution. The resolution is the heartbreaking conclusion of the story. When the student gives the red rose to the girl, she immediately rejects it. The text says, "I am afraid it will not go with my dress," she answered. "And besides, the Chamberlain's nephews has sent me some real jewels, and everybody knows that jewels cost far more than flowers." Unfortunately, this moment crushes the student and his anger. He throws the red rose away, calling love foolish and useless compared to philosophy and logic. Here, the message of the story becomes very clear. True love, symbolized by the Nightingale's sacrifice, goes unappreciated in a world obsessed with wealth and materialism. True love is tragic, not only because the Nightingale's death was in vain, but also because the student turns cold and bitter, rejecting love completely. Oscar Wilde ends the story with a sharp commentary, which is, society often overlooks sincerity and sacrifices in favor of shallow desires. And it leaves us as the reader questioning the real value of love in a materialistic world.
Next up, we're moving to setting. In this story, there are three main settings. The first one is the student garden. This is where his sadness begins because he cannot find a red rose to give for the girl he loved. This garden reflects his longing and emptiness, and it is here that the Nightingale observed him and decided to help. The second one is the oak tree. This becomes the place of the Nightingale's ultimate sacrifice. She presses her heart against a thorn and sings all night until she dies. The oak tree symbolizes love, pain, and selflessness. The third one is Professor's daughter's house. This is where the student brings the red rose, hoping to win her heart. Instead, she rejects him and chooses Jewel. This setting represents rejection and delusionalment. So overall, the garden symbolizes desire, the oak tree represents sacrifice, and the house represents rejection. Now let's look at the character. The first character is the Nightingale. She is the protagonist of this story. She represents true love and sacrifice. She is idealistic and romantic, believing love is worth more than life itself. The second is the student. He is intellectual but shallow. He studies philosophy and logic, but he does not understand the depth of love. After being rejected, he quickly becomes ungrateful and dismisses love as foolish. The third is the professor's daughter. She is the antagonist, representing materialism and vanity. She values wealth and appearance more than genuine love, rejecting the rose in favor of Jewel. Together, these characters show the contrast between selfless sacrifice, shallow logic, and materialistic desire.
Alright, moving on to conflicts. There are two types of conflict, external conflict and also internal conflict. So external conflict is where a character is struggling with external forces like society, nature, maybe even expectation or rules set by the society themselves. And then internal conflict is when a character is struggling with themselves, where the character have inner struggle, maybe struggling with their own thoughts, mentals, and so on. First of all, let's look at the internal conflict, character versus self. So, the character versus self is when the student is struggling with disappointment of rejection by the girl,
ended up thinking that love is pointless, that love is just not meant for him. He is meant to read books. Moving on to number 2, character versus nature, where the character, the Nightingale, the bird, sacrifices itself to create a red rose for the students. This goes against nature as it fights life and death situations, where the Nightingale sacrifices its own body, its own blood, to create a red rose. After that, we will be looking at external conflict. So, number 1, we have character versus society, where the students seek for love but got rejected by the girl, as the society set a rule that they prioritize jewels over feelings. That is an expectation set by the rules that apply to the characters. Moving on to the last one, character versus character. So, the students who seek love but got rejected by the girl, as the girl prioritized wealth over love. Next, we will be moving on to the point of view. So, the short story is in the third person omniscience, where the narrator does not involve in the story as one of the characters, and the narrator knows all about the characters and their thoughts. And to be specific, the narrator knows the thoughts of the Nightingale and the students and know about their feelings.
After the analysis that we do, we figured that the theme is love and sacrifice. We can see the theme of love and sacrifice when the Nightingale sacrificed herself for true love. As we can see in the short story, said the tree, if you want the red rose, you must build it out of music by moonlight and stain it with your own heart's blood. You must sing to me with your breast against the thorn. All night long, you must sing to me, and the thorn must pierce your heart, and your lifeblood must flow into my veins and becomes mine. The second theme that we found is materialism. It is where the professor's daughter show how people often value wealth and appearance. As you can see in the short story, she said, I am afraid it will not go with my dress. And besides, the Chamberlain's nephew has sent me some real jewels. And everybody knows that jewels cost more than flowers. Let's move on to the literary device that we found in this short story. Literary device number 1 is symbolism. When in the text it said, then she gave one last burst of music. The marvelous rose became crimson like the rose of the eastern sky. From there we know that the rose symbolized the true love born from sacrifice. Literary device number 2 is personifications. As it stated in the text is that the cold crystal moon leaned down and listened. As we may know, the moon can't lean down or listen, so the author put a human quality into a non-living thing. Literary device number 3 is irony. As it stated in the text, here is the reddest rose in all the world, but the girl frowned, and I'm afraid it will not go with my dress. It shows that the Nightingale's sacrifice meant nothing to her because it eventually got thrown away. Now let's get down to the conclusion. In conclusion, the story shows how the beauty of true love would mean nothing to the world that values wealth. All the sacrifice, shallow standing, and the selfishness makes the external conflicts between love and materialism, as well as the internal struggle of sacrifice and delusionment, highlight the author's wildest message that true love often demands great cost, but is not always valued by societies. Thank you very much.